Hi everyone, I'm Vone Kevitz, knit and crochet designer for one-of-a-kind makers who dare to be original. And we certainly have an original lady in front of us today, Sandra Ramirez from Ahliyah Crafts. Hi Sandra.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hi, okay, so I'm Sandra Ramirez from Ahliyah Crafts, and I started off crocheting, and then eventually now I'm doing like more polymer clay items and giving more of like my culture into the work. So that's kind of what I'm up to now.
I love that. So polymer, I knew you were in the Facebook group, the Dare to Be Original Facebook group, as a crocheter. I remembered a long time ago, and then all of a sudden you just started branching off into how did you start with this polymer stuff? Was it stitch markers?
Well, like after a while, I just had way too much yarn at home, as I'm pretty sure a lot of knitters and crocheters do.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to like play more with like my hands, and so I got polymer clay, and I saw people were making like these really cute food items. I love food. So I was like, you know what, let me give this a try. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. And that's kind of what I'm sticking to right now. But I'm sure I'll be branching into like other things soon.
Right. And you, speaking of food items, yeah, all of a sudden, like she came out and you came onto the scene, and I absolutely love your Instagram feed, by the way. I'm a huge follower of her and her stories. So you guys, her links will be in the show descriptions. I want to, before we talk about your trending food item, let's backtrack a little bit. And how did you get started on your creative journey?
So I've always been into art ever since I was young, like elementary school. My teacher saw that in me. He was putting me into these like art competitions and everything. And then that just eventually led to me becoming an art major. So I did that for 4 years. And then during that time in college, I needed extra income. So I went to Michael's, I got yarn, started crocheting, and I made crop tops for people, and I would sell them out of my apartment. And I was like, okay, people actually want to buy my stuff. So that eventually led to one thing, which led to another. I started the Instagram, and boom, it just kind of picked up from there.
Wow, I'm thoroughly impressed with you about the crop tops, because you actually handmade clothing and sold it as finished products. That's always daunting to me because of the fit and the size. And
yeah, that was always really hard.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wow, I can't believe that's how you got onto this. That's why I make scarves, because I know it's a one-size-fits-all item. Yeah. To venture into a top, that is just like, that's a praiseworthy cause there.
Thank you.
But then you've definitely moved away from that, because now what you're doing is a lot less stressful.
In some ways, yeah. I don't have to like do very custom fits now. Now it's like either you like it or you don't.
Yeah. So what is your big why for pursuing your solopreneur lifestyle?
I think the biggest why would just be more of like the financial stability that I have now than I did before. I mean, I worked as a behavioral therapist for 3 years, and the pay wasn't that good. I was doing like events, selling my stuff during those 3 years too, and I saw that I actually got more doing that than being a behavioral therapist. You know, I love that work too, but reality is I gotta pay bills, gotta pay rent, so I went with my work.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. But that's awesome that your craft and your it has financially, you know what I mean, surpassed your actual like technical skills. You know what I mean? Like that's every maker's dream. Yeah. And you're living it. And speaking of like conquering like a huge dream, she's living one of my biggest dreams, because in her background is not her dining room like my background is.
Studio.
You know what I mean? So like big props to you for having a rented studio space. Like that is amazing. So what is your making process?
For the polymer clay stuff?
Yes. Yeah. What you're doing right now.
So right now I am starting a whole new line of products, which is handbag charms. So I have, I don't know where it is, but I have a notebook. It's just a sketchbook, and I just start putting my ideas on there. And then actually, I have it right here. I'll show you. This is my little sketchbook that I carry around. And so this I'm actually going to be posting soon. It's it's like a little Minnie Mouse handbag charm. So I put like my color palette, and like I just start the ideas from there. So I've already made one. I sold it at my event yesterday, but I'll be posting that. Yeah, it's pretty much just coming up with an idea, sketching it down, and then going to places and looking for the actual items so I can put it all together.
That is awesome. Yeah. You know, Sandra, that's amazing. I'm actually branching out from scarves into accessories, and my next thing is handbags. So I have always been nervous about doing handbags in the knit and crochet realm that didn't look dated and old. And I finally like got it in my head, like I have ideas that I can actually make it really cool. So that's the next line for the VK shop. And so I would love to partner. We need to talk and partner up and get some charms in for my handbags. That's amazing. So what is your, like, how can you branch off? Like, do you, like for your polymer clay, can you do anything? Like, are your ideas are just like unmatched? Like, what are the limits here?
So that's the thing I love about like just art in general. Like you can do whatever you want, you know, there's no like I have to stick to one thing, because that can get a little boring, you know. Just branch out, do something new, try it out. What's the worst that can happen? You know, someone else doesn't like it, okay, cool, but I like it, so whatever, I don't care.
That is right. So can you do letters? Can you do like, or do you have to work with molds, or
sometimes I do work with molds, but majority of the stuff it's all like just sculptured. So it's just like a clay. Like you can do whatever you want, however big you want. You can paint it after it's baked. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's amazing. I really, really like that idea. I need to, because I wanted to do something, and I think a charm would be great to have a personalized, you know what I mean, for the accessory, and to add to the handbag, you know. That's a great idea. See, this is why I love these creative interviews. This is why, because you get to meet, and you know what I mean. Sometimes you can collaborate, and sometimes you can just learn. You know what I mean. That's why I just love the maker community. Before we get into the tips for the newbies, so let's talk about your trending. What is your hottest trending item? And if it's the one that I thought, if it is the one that I'm thinking it is.
Right now, well, the most recent one I put out was a michelada cup. I don't know if that's what you were thinking.
No, I'm thinking way earlier, before you even got on this map. I'm talking about the Cheetos.
Oh, the hot Cheeto.
See, I think the Cheetos is what bought her the studio, and she doesn't even realize it. She's not even giving proper props to her Cheetos.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, the hot Cheeto.
Right?
Yeah, that was a while ago that I did it.
Well, you've been famous for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty fun to make. A lot of trial and error there.
It looks so. Who are the kind of buyers that like? What makes you think like? How did you even come across that item? Like, what made you think I'm gonna make Cheetos and people are gonna love it? How did you know people were gonna love it?
Well, I mean, it's just I don't know who doesn't love Cheetos. You know,
is that how you started off with?
Well, I mean, it's something I grew up with, which I know a lot of my peers like grew up with too. So it's a way to connect. And, you know, I was in another group too on Instagram with these other awesome ladies. You know, we were giving each other ideas, and someone was like, hey, you know what, like, no one's really made like a hot Cheeto pin or something. I'm like, you know what, you're right. And they kept telling me like, hey, like, you should try it, do it, see if you can make it. At first, I was pretty hesitant. I'm like, how the heck am I gonna make a hot Cheeto out of polymer clay, and make it look real? So, I went through a lot of trials and errors, and eventually it came out the way I wanted it to, and it was a big hit. It's like, oh, it ended up on, I think, BuzzFeed, an article there. I think it was on there. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was on, like, they have, like, top 10, 20 people to buy it from or something, and my pin was there. I was like, oh, cool.
And that's how you got on there. So somehow BuzzFeed, so you didn't seek any media out?
No. They
how
just
did you
kind of
find out it was on there?
Someone messaged me. They're like, hey, like, congrats on this. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're on BuzzFeed. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and one thing I would say, like, because no one they didn't notify me or anything. So whenever you have time, like, just search up your name, like your company name, and then put in like BuzzFeed or something. I don't know. You never know. Someone may have written something about you.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, my hubby has an online marketing business, and he Googled himself recently or something, and he basically was like, I'm on a bunch of people's websites, and I was like, what? Because you don't know, you know what I mean? Yeah. And truthfully, I've never done so God only knows where I've appeared. That's too funny. That is too funny. That's awesome. That's basically how you got your big exposure.
I'm pretty sure.
Like, that probably drew in an outside crowd to your already niche, you know what I mean, world. That's amazing. So talk about your latest one, because I did check out. Is that like a shrimp cocktail?
Yeah, it's called a michelada. So it's much like beer, and you put like tomato juice and like any other spices in there, and the rim has cucumber and shrimp.
It looks, you guys just on that description alone, you need to go check out that Instagram feed, because it looks like a real drink. Like, your items like look real. And going back to the Cheetos too, is if you put your pin inside a bag of Cheetos, people would not know which one is your pin. Like, that's how real her polymer clay is.
People, like, don't eat it. Don't keep it around children or pets. I don't want to get sick.
Yes, that's the big caveat, is my food looks so good. It's not edible. Please do not eat it. Yeah. Come and try to sue me for your stupidity. Oh, that's crazy. So do you have any tips for newbie makers?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So where do I start?
Get your notebooks ready.
So one thing, I know with me, I had such a big fear of what other people would think about my stuff. And that honestly stopped me from making a lot of what I wanted to do. So you know what? Just do it. If inside you feel like, I really want to make this, I know someone's gonna like it, like, go for it, try it out. It may take a while for someone to see it and love it, but someone will, and don't get discouraged if you just started a website or something, you haven't gotten any sales. Just know it does take some time. I remember my first 3 months on Etsy, I think I only made like $100 maybe in like 3 months. So I was like, oh, when's the money supposed to come in, But it does take time. So don't get discouraged. Let's see. Also, like, marketing is a big thing. Knowing how to run social media, because a lot of people are on it these days. And honestly, that's where I get most of my sales, from Instagram. So I just direct them straight to my website. And that's where I get everyone coming from. And then also,
Go ahead, you keep going.
Oh, I was also going to mention, like, going to events as well, like, try it out. Even if you're just starting, you want to test the waters. Nothing better than to do it in person.
Yep. That's like the Facebook group is always asking about. They're always nervous to start an online, like not an online, an in-craft show, and should they? Is it worth the money and the risk and all that stuff? And I'm always telling everybody, even though I didn't have success, or like it wasn't like a lot of fun for me to do a show, I don't regret any of the shows I've done, because I know, you know what I mean? Like, and that unknown is what, you know what I mean? It will stunt you. Like, if, like, do it. If you have an opportunity to do anything, try it once, just do it. You know what I mean? Whether it's successful or not, it doesn't matter, because the fact that you know is already a success. When you learn and you find out something, you know what I mean? It's already a success. Even if you fail at something, you've learned something, that's a success. You know what I mean? So the newbies are always like hesitant, and that's why I do these interviews. Like, that's why I make it a part of this YouTube channel, because I try to gather as many creative people and show everybody what ordinary women doing extraordinary things look like. And we're all ordinary women doing extraordinary things, and everybody has that capability, you know what I mean? So when we see other people doing it, it makes it like, okay, maybe there's a shot, you know? And if that's the shot, take it, do it, you know?
What's the worst thing that can happen, you know?
What, right, what's the worst thing? That was like me and me asking, like, Sandra's in the Facebook group, but the Facebook is huge, and I've never even really had like real conversations with Sandra, but I reached out to her in fear, you know, in fear of like, I don't know her, what is she gonna say? No? You know what I mean? And if she says no, she says no. But look, she said yes, and here we are. You know what I mean? And that's like everything. Like, you get so nervous, and then you stop. And how many people don't approach you? You know what I mean? How many people don't? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I always say. Like, the people that say no, I just move on. But the ones that I never, the chances I never take, they're the ones that haunt me for life.
Exactly.
They're the regrets that eat me up. You know what I mean? They're the ones that I keep going, I wish I did that. Should I do it now? You know what I mean? Now it's too late. Like, they're the ones, not the ones that said no, or sorry, or it won't work out. Like, those rejections never affect me one way or another, because I don't even remember them. You know what I mean? It's just like that. It's just like that. So yes, past shows, do it.
Yeah, another thing to know, you know, like, if you want to reach out to someone with, like, you know, a bigger following or whatever, remember, you know, we're all human beings. There's a person behind all of that, you know, like, just talk to them. Love talking to people, you know?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, that's the truth. I want to go back on Instagram a little bit, just for my sake. I don't know if anybody else wants to learn about Instagram, but how did you manage to beat their algorithms? Like, what is your best tip on Instagram?
I would say just be very engaging with the community there, your community. You know, they're following you for a reason. They love your work. But, you know, involve them in things. I love using the Instagram poll on the stories. You ask them a question and they can answer. I just like being funny on there too. You know, give them a good laugh, show them who you are.
Right.
And it works out pretty good. I get people messaging me like, hey, oh my gosh, I love that. That was so funny. Or like, oh, I'm so happy you posted this. Now I learned something.
Yes.
So you use it as a teaching tool. Yeah.
You know what? Recently, I just learned that Instagram, it's not just about the likes and the comments anymore. It is all about those direct messages. If you can get anybody to direct message you basically, and carry on a conversation with you, then you're pretty much going to end up on the top of their feeds every time you post. Because now you've become a rich engagement when you're actually having direct messages with people. So that's a great tip, is to be yourself, and then invite the direct messages to come, you know what I mean, and have the conversation with you, because then that puts you in the front of on their forefront, you know what I mean, because that's how Instagram is newly doing their algorithms right now. So that's a great tip. So do you post a lot, like feed-wise, or are you more active in your stories?
I'm more active on the stories. I know I've heard you should be posting at least 3 times a day, like one in the morning, afternoon, and the evening. But that's pretty hard to do. I really remember to post on one day,
Yeah,
Um, mhm.
all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, a week has gone by. I gotta post another. I'm always like, oh, yeah, I definitely need to get better at that. Do you
But
have any habits and rituals that you do daily?
I try. I mean, I recently bought a yoga mat. I have somewhere here to do stretchings in the morning before I do work, but yeah. I did it for like 3 days and then I'm like, I gotta get to work. Yeah, I try.
Sandra, so I'm gonna be 41 this year, and I used to work out a long time ago, and then I got hurt, and then I stopped working out, and then I got fearful to work out because I didn't want to get hurt again. Well, now as I'm aging and I feel like everything is getting stiff, like I need to somehow incorporate that back in, but because now it's become necessity. You're still slightly young where you can keep, you're still limber, but eventually you're going to get to a point where I'm at where I'm like, I don't have a choice. I need to stretch, or I'm pretty much going to not be able to sit or stand. Because my husband and I were just joking the other day. I was just joking with a friend. I'm like, like I get up and I'm like, and I was like, oh, I hurt myself. He goes, what'd you do? I said, I stood up. I'm like,
Oh no.
I'm hurting myself from just standing up. So now I need to work out and keep limber just to be upright. It's crazy.
Oh no.
It's gonna happen. You watch. So you better get to that mat way before. Don't let it get to necessity point where I'm at right now.
Oh no.
So
Yes,
how do you invest in yourself?
That's a good question. Honestly, sometimes I forget about myself and the self-care, which is not good. You really need to take care of yourself. When I do, I'm in downtown, so that's where the studio is, downtown LA. So there's a bunch of stuff here, and I love food, so I'll just sometimes just go out by myself and sit at a restaurant and eat a nice little lunch. So that's how I like to invest in myself, just making myself really happy with food and I just love food.
Yeah. I love food, but I love getting served food more.
Yeah, the cooking part, I'm like, I can't right now.
So if I can get anybody to take me out to eat, it is always a treat for me.
Nice. Yes.
You know what I mean? That's awesome. And I did want it to, as a part of your investment, I'm like, to make the decision to actually rent space for yourself, that is a huge investment on yourself, because that's a huge investment in your business. You know what I mean? And that's awesome. And you were right about self-care, because we as makers and solopreneurs, we are our hottest commodity. When we shut down, we don't have anything. We don't have a business. We don't have, even if you're not running a business and you're watching this, you don't have your craft, you know what I mean? And that's so definitely, number one, what is it they say in airplanes, when, with the mask, you save yourself or the child first. And basically it's saying, save yourself. You give yourself the oxygen before you give, you know what I mean, the child the oxygen, because you need to take care of yourself before you can help anybody else. And so I always remember that line, and that's what I keep thinking, because I'm like a selfless nature kind of person where I want to please other people, but then I have to remember, I'm like, if I'm pleasing everybody and not ignoring myself, then I've got nothing to give. Exactly. Eventually I run empty, and then what am I giving, So that was, Sandra, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
You guys, her website is below. Go check out her stuff. Go show her some love if you don't already know her. I can't wait to see your line, and we definitely need to connect with your handbag charms, because I want one of those charms to go onto mine.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and like and share and all that fun jazz. God bless, guys. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.